Pokemon Black and White, alongside their sequels, make up the 5th generation of Pokemon. It was the last generation of Pokemon games to use 2D sprite work before switching to all 3D models for future games. It's a rather personal game for me, as it was my first Pokemon game, which opened my horizons to the entire gaming industry. I can safely say that without these games, I wouldn't be here talking into this microphone today. 2021 marks the 10th anniversary of the game's North American release, so to celebrate, I'm gonna gush about them a whole bunch and explain what makes them so great. This is my love letter to Pokemon Black and White. The main series Pokemon games were declining in sales ever since Gen 3 with Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald. They still made tons of money compared to other multimedia franchises, both with the main series games as well as the plethora of spin-offs and merchandise relating to Gens 3 and 4. However, it was clear from both a commercial and even creative perspective that Pokemon is growing stale for the general consumer and needed some sort of shakeup. With this one, our main goal was to make the game really fun for players who had never played Pokemon before, but we also want to try to have players from the past who hadn't played in a while come back with this generation. So we were really targeting both the new and lapsed players. We wanted as many people to play the games and enjoy them. This shakeup came in the form of Generation 5. These new games would base the region, named Unova, off America instead of Japan, get rid of all of the past Pokemon for the main campaign, and have 151 brand new Pokemon to populate the world instead, with a new focus on telling an engaging story. A lot of these changes were met with mixed response initially, as some loved the shakeup, while others thought it was a downgrade to previous games. As time goes on, most Pokemon players have come to praising Black and White as the best Pokemon games, or even the peak of Pokemon, which I'm glad, as I love these games so much. However, I don't think we should forget the initial mixed response to Generation 5, as when it's said and done, it sold worse than Generation 4, which might have led to some decisions that were made in Generation 6, which is a story for another time. Speaking of stories, in my opinion, Pokemon games don't have awful narratives, even when they're non-existent. The first games don't have much story, which is okay as it focused on being a fun yet simple adventure with evil gangsters thrown in occasionally. However, after Generation 1, the story slowly started to become more ambitious and interesting. In Gold, Silver, and Crystal, there was a side narrative about how aimless Team Rocket is after he defeated them last time. In Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, there's a fascinating debate between the beauty of the environment versus the progress of humanity, along with having a huge save the world plot relating to the evil team of the game, which would continue to further Pokemon games even to today. And Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum upped the stakes where the fabric of space and time was being threatened. Pokemon Black and White want to focus on telling a good story first and foremost. While it does have an overarching epic story with villains, powerful dragons, and a world to save, it also knows when to give the spotlight to the characters, their personal journeys, and its strong overarching theme, which is the characters realizing nuance in the world and people around us. While your protagonist is silent as always, you have two rivals/friends, Sharon and Bianca, who journey alongside you and whose character arcs throughout the game showcase this theme very well. For Sharon, it's him learning humility and loosening up from his overly analytic tendencies, and for Bianca, it's about exploring the outside world of how her overprotective parents and slowly becoming more independent, alongside learning that maybe her passions don't lie in Pokemon battling, but Pokemon researching. The gym leaders are also great in this game, as not only do they have memorable personalities and designs, but some of them have their own small stories and are roles in the character's journey, like with Skyla's little story in the Ghost Tower, or Elsa helping Bianca with her overprotective father. There's also Alder, who's one of those underrated champions in the Pokemon series. He's a chill mentor character who helps the other characters in their journeys and has an interesting backstory/subplot with his starter Pokemon dying, which made him into the aimless wanderer he is today. He and the other gym leaders are pretty proactive throughout the story as they help fight against the villain group Team Plasma. Team Plasma are giant hypocrites, proclaiming to liberate Pokemon from humans while using Pokemon for their own personal gain. They're led by Getsis, a selfish man presenting himself as a loyal servant who manipulates a boy named N for his own selfish gains. Getsis' main goal is to have N find a legendary Pokemon and win the Pokemon League in order to gain a large influence and use it to spread the warped ideas of Team Plasma all over Unova. He's a standard evil JRPG antagonist, but I think what makes him work so well outside of looking cool is that he's responsible for N being what he is today, and since N's character arc is very compelling, as we'll get to soon, Getsis by proxy becomes a threatening villain. A chunk of the game's plot revolves around N and Team Plasma trying to get enough gym badges to enter the Pokemon League to spread their ideals, which is a nice shake-up to the usual formula, as it gives you more motivation, reason, and urgency to battle the gym leaders than becoming the very best in the region, along with tying the Pokemon League quest to the main villain quest in an interesting way. And then we have one of the most beloved human characters in the Pokemon series, N, and there's a good reason for that. Throughout your many encounters with N, he'll consistently constantly questioning the ideals he was raised with throughout the game and has doubts about whether or not he's doing the right thing. Through these interactions, you can truly see that deep down, and as a good person, I was just raised with a bad viewpoint. I especially love how in the ending, he's come to terms that Pokemon and humans can coexist and like each other. But before he leaves a changed man, he has a heartwarming farewell speech where he tells you, the player, to follow your dream and make it come true, which is an inspiring note for N's redemption and for the game to end on, both for the little kids playing Pokemon for the first time who have their whole lives ahead of them, and for the stressed out adults revisiting the game for some comfort in their harsh lives. I know there's a disdain for video games having silent protagonists you're supposed to project yourself onto, as those players want to play as an actual character to care about, but this one scene makes this design choice validated in black and white. I really want to see more games with silent protagonists use the choice for a powerful moment or revelation in the future, and I'm sure black and white aren't the only video games to do this, but they stick out to me the most since it's one of the only times done in Pokemon, a mainstream game franchise where every mainline game has a silent protagonist. The usual gameplay loop of Pokemon is kept intact by catching the Pokemon you want to catch to build your own team and training them in turn-based battles against wild Pokemon and trainer battles. The cool thing about Black and White is that you only get Unova Pokemon in the game's campaign, with other Pokemon only being accessible in the post-game. I really wish this became a series standard, as it not only gives each game their own value, but it pushed the designers to make some cool, creative, and battle-viable new Pokemon, along with encouraging the player to test out and research these new mons instead of going with their favorites all the time. Yeah, Basculin sucks and is a literal filler Pokemon, even according to the developers, but I think nearly every other Pokemon design is a winner. Yes, even the Ice Cream and Trash Bag, as I think they have a lot of charm to them. Some of my all-time favorite Pokemon come from this generation, like the Oshawott line and the Karate Muppet Sock, who along with his brother Thor are super underrated Pokemon for their funny yet cool designs. Some of my other favorites include Seismitoad, Gorlork, Bisharp, Axew, Archon, Druddigon, Stunfisk, Lollipop, and so much more. I might be biased, but I really do love most of the Pokemon introduced here. The DS is quite underpowered by today's standards, but that doesn't matter when this game is the near final form of the pixel art Pokemon has been using for over a decade at this point. Not only do we have great designs for the new Pokemons and trainers, but they're brought to life in battle through really charming animation loops which are filled to the brim of personality but don't detract from the fast pace of a regular battle. The developers at Game Freak knew that Black and White and their sequels were going to be the last Pokemon games to use pixel art, so they pushed the style in the DS to its limits to make a gorgeous looking game. And then there's the music in this game. Oh boy, does it slap! Not only does it hit different, but it uses changing dynamic music, like when you're on the last Pokemon of a gym leader, or when your Pokemon is low on health, the Elite Four theme is one of my favorite music pieces in all of gaming. And how could I forget Emotion, the most iconic song of these games? This soundtrack is on par with Sword and Shield soundtrack as my favorite Pokemon soundtrack, and it's probably in my top 10 gaming soundtracks in general. Pokemon Black and White are my favorite video games of all time. Admittedly, it's partially because they're the first Pokemon games I played, and Pokemon's my favorite video game franchise. Even so, the games are just so fun to play, and the narrative is very well told and even inspiring, especially the ending, which hit me harder than ever of how much I've grown to appreciate stories in games. While yes, Pokemon Black and White are my favorite Pokemon games, I don't think they were the last good Pokemon games, like a lot of the community seems to think these days. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of X and Y, but I love Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, as I think they have just as creative Pokemon designs and well-written / executed stories as Black and White. Admittedly, the charm is stronger for me in Black and White with the well-done pixel art, which makes me worried for the inevitable remakes. I don't mind the art style in the Diamond and Pearl remakes of everything being all chibified, but with how much Black and White pushed the envelope for pixel art and how well beloved they are, I wouldn't mind if they just did an enhanced port instead of a remake, as I feel a 3D art style won't do these games justice. If they want to do a remake, I think they should outsource it to, say, someone like the Square Enix HD2D guys, who are currently remaking Dragon Quest III in the style of Octopath Traveler. If I could see a Pokemon game like this one day, I'd be over the moon, especially if they remake Black and White like this. Though that's a different story for a different day. But for now, I just want to thank you for watching and getting us to 500 subscribers. I know this is gonna date this video, but I already kinda dated it with the Black and White remake talk, so who cares? But I'm super thankful for this opportunity to share these dumb opinions on video games and other media with you. But that's it for the show. Make sure to tip your waiters, and make your dream come true.